Before you hook up your trailer, there's a few things you're going to want to check before heading down the road. The first thing you're going to want to check is the air pressure in your tires. Now, if you look at your sidewall, this tire says max 80 psi. So what you'll do is take your tire pressure gauge and you'll put it on there and check it out. And this tire is coming in at just below 65 psi. So we're going to have to put some air in this tire before we use it. Now what happens is when your trailer sits, your tires are going to lose air pressure over time. I would recommend checking it at least once a month. I check our tire pressure every time before we hit the road. And the best thing to do is to check it while it's cold, because that's going to give you your most accurate rating. Some people think, well, this says max 80 psi, so I'm going to run it at 70, 75. That way when it heats up and I'm going down the road, I'm at maximum air pressure. That's not how it works. The manufacturers have all that built in so that if it's 80 psi, that's where you want to set it, because there's actually a max load on here, and if you're below 80 psi, you're not going to reach that max load level when you have your trailer loaded up. Now, something else you want to do is you want to check your spare tire. Sometimes people don't think about this because you don't think about a spare tire until you actually need your spare tire. So what you'll do is you'll check your air pressure in your spare tire, and another thing you'll want to do is check to see how old your tire is. Your average trailer tire is going to last about maybe 4 to 7 years depending on the climate and where it's at, if it's in a lot of sun, because you can't really tell by looking at a tire whether it's good or not. You can look at this tire here and see it has lots of tread, it looks really decent, it looks good, but that's not what we're looking for. This doesn't mean anything to look at the tread on the tire, because tires dry rot over time. And as I said, you get 4 to 7 years, so what you want to do is you want to look at the manufacture date on the sidewall of your tire. So you'll come over here, there's a DOT, that's Department of Transportation, and then there's a series of numbers, and you'll come over here and there's a 5009. Now that stands for it was made the 50th week in 2009. Now as you can see, this spare tire is no good. We pulled this one out of the shed, it's been sitting for a while, so it's time to replace this tire because it's not even considered to be a good spare tire. So you'll want to check the dates on your spare tire, your trailer tires, make sure they're all within the 4 to 7 year window. Look for dry rot, look for any kind of damage, because the last thing you need is for your tire to blow out and you to be sitting alongside the road. Now, as far as the tires go, there's a couple things you can also check to make sure that you're right where you need to be. If you see your tire wearing in the center of the tread really bad, you might have too much air pressure. If you see it wearing on the sides, you have too little of air pressure. Now, if your air pressure is rock solid right on where it's supposed to be and you're still wearing, you might have a problem with your bearing, or maybe your axle's tweaked, so you'll want to get that checked out. And speaking of bearings, it doesn't hurt to throw a little grease to your bearing a couple times a year, and just a pump or two just to make sure you got enough grease in there. And you're supposed to, by rule of thumb, get your bearings packed about once a year, depending on how often you use it. So get your bearings packed about once a year, maybe check it to make sure enough grease in it. Check your tires, make sure the air pressure's good, the date's good on the manufacturing side of it, and you will have a flawless road trip.